We're just getting older, world is getting colder. Trying to get sober, Lord help me get stronger. World is on my shoulders.
Today, this is the 12 for 12 podcast, the podcast about real life recovery, growth and development, and redemption. And if you happen to need any help, do not hesitate to reach out to our sponsors, First Step Recovery. They'll be happy to help you. You see the numbers up top. Do not wait. Do not hesitate to contact them today. We have a special guest today, George.
Yeah.
How you doing, man? Hey, doing well, man. Good. Thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an honor. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you having me.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Joseph, he was telling us about you, like, man, you know what, man? A great story, man. Somebody who would be great to come on the show, man. A good testimony and could change a lot of people's lives. And one thing about the 12 for 12 podcast is about the change, the growth, and development that people go through, us as human beings. So definitely surrounding recovery, because if it's not mental, it's substance abuse. You know, it's not substance abuse, it's mental, could be physical. It's just, you know, the aspects of what people go through in the recovery process, and to let people know that, you know, there's people out there to help, don't give up hope, and everybody's story matters, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely,
sir.
I agree.
So, where are you from?
I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born and raised here in Louisville. I've now transitioned. I live in Corydon, Indiana now. I actually bought a house over there. But I was born and raised here in the east side of Louisville, Kentucky. Went to high school, grade school, everything here in Louisville. So,
Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, man.
Yeah. So, kind of being able to give back to my community definitely is important. So.
Oh, that's what's up. How do you feel about the transfer from going from Louisville to Kentucky to Indiana? How does that feel for you?
It's a little different. It's obviously it's quieter over there because it's kind of rural. Mm-hmm. It's not kind of, it is rural. And I mean, it was nice. My dad owned nightclubs in that here. He owned a couple bars here, and so really just being able to get away and disengage. My business is here in Louisville, so it's nice to kind of get away, and it's quiet out there, so I get to kind of just get my time when I get away from Louisville, so it's not too bad. Yeah.
You can come over here, go over there.
Yeah, it's not too bad. And I'm only about 20-25 minutes from my office, so it's not too
bad.
that's
not bad at all.
No, not bad at all.
What?
Not bad traffic either. So.
Yeah, I can imagine that, definitely.
Yeah.
So, tell me, have you ever had any issues or anything with substance abuse or any mental things that ever went on with you?
I fought with substance use and mental health for until I was almost, I was 44 years old. In and out of jails and prisons and institutions. In fact, so much so that that's what was comfortable to me. Change was so far from my mind when the change actually occurred and happened. I'm not one of the guys that gets enough pain out there in the streets and comes willingly into a treatment facility. I was one of those guys that has to be sentenced by a judge. It's either prison or treatment, and treatment sounds wise. So I signed up for treatment back in almost 3 years ago, and went through a guy named Sheldon McElroy, Stories Lighthouse. I went through his treatment program, and changed my life, man. I never could. I always had good jobs. I was a mortgage broker for years. Always able to make money, but I could never keep anything. I would always give it away. I'd end up in prison, or I'd end up in jail, and you know, a lot of times we say to ourselves, well, we lost some stuff. We don't really lose anything. We give it away willingly for the drugs. And so, you know, that's where I built my foundation, is at Stories Lighthouse, and really started to grow there as a man, because I was just trapped, a man trapped in a little boy's mentality, and couldn't be responsible about anything. Not a father, not a responsible employee. Not anything. I couldn't do anything. So.
That's interesting. I like what you said, definitely about you know, being a grown man kind of trapped in a little boy's body. I realized it could stem from the mental aspect of things.
Right.
You know, it could be trauma that might have happened that had you trapped at a certain age, or something that just had you continuously ration out. And I know that's how I was when I was out there drinking, partying. I was using excuses and just causing hell out there, you know. Not being much good of a person, and I always tell people, listen, man, I'm not good. I believe there's only one that's good, and you know, it's God. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I try to be a better person every day.
Yeah.
You know, as a human being, because we all fall short all the time, but just trying to be better, trying to be more loving, trying to be more caring and understanding. And when we get to know more about ourselves, I believe that's when the change really gets to happen and you get to reach out and help other people. You said that you signed yourself up for the program. So that's an important thing to happen. What made you want to sign up to actually get yourself into the program?
I was on paper in 2 different states, in Indiana and here. And I made it over here, and they actually sentenced me on an ankle bracelet to a treatment facility. And it's kind of crazy how it happened, so I'll tell you a little bit. I was in Floyd County Jail. This kind of tells you how the universe aligns or how God works, however you want to twist it. But there was a guy that I was in jail with. I got kicked out of a treatment program inside of Floyd County Jail. I went back to the general population, and I took all the curriculum with me. And I was sitting at a table, and I would get up in the morning and drink Keefy coffee, and I would read the curriculum. And a guy came up to me and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Man, when I get out of here, I'm going to figure out how to help guys like us that are locked up in here and struggle with substance use and mental health." And he said, "Man, you need to talk to my sponsor." And he put me on the phone with a guy named Shelton. And Shelton, the only thing that I could say to him was, "Hey, man, look, I don't know how to live right. Can you please help me?" He said, "What are you willing to do?" I said, "I'm willing to do whatever you tell me." And I got transferred. I wrote his number down. I got transferred from Floyd County Jail after I served the time there to Louisville Metro. And Louisville Metro Jail is a lot different than Floyd County. There's a lot of drugs, and I'm from Louisville, and I know everybody in the jail. So I had a little bit of fear going into the jail because I didn't want to get high anymore. I got into the jail, and they took all my notebooks, took everything. I went up to the 4th floor. I went in front of the judge. She sends me to HIP 2 treatment, but I still had Indiana Medicaid, so it posed an issue. Social worker came and talked to me. I kept getting denied. So I was released on the ankle bracelet, but I had to go to a treatment facility. And I didn't have Shelton's number anymore. I knew that he had a house, but I didn't have his number. And a guy that I had been in prison with came in, and he said, "Man, what are you doing?" I told him my situation. He said, "Look, I just was running and ran into this woman's yard and tried to slit my wrist." And she said, "Don't do that. Let my husband or my daughter's dad, he's a therapist, he can help you." And he handed me a number, and it was Shelton's number.
Wow.
And I called him, and within a few days, he had me out to his house. And then later on, I graduated the program. And now, today, I was the first person to graduate the program, and now he has Stories Lighthouse, and I have Support Recovery. We collaborate together, so we do clinical services for both houses. So now I'm business partners with the guy that I met on a phone call in jail. So that kind of worked out.
Yeah, I call that divine timing right there, man, because especially how things align. It seems like, man, you know what, man, when you take hold and take grasp of certain things that happen in your life, you get those certain chances. I think it's important that you don't let those chances go by.
Yeah,
because you're never guaranteed to have another good chance to come by like that again. And then you never know, just people just try to do better. And I feel like once you're ready to really change on the inside, things are gonna fall into place.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there is help out there. I think the wrong way to look at things is how people try to put things out there in social media and maybe in the world that there's really just no help out there at all, that everybody's just thrown away. It's harder in some places, kind of like what we were talking about before. It's a little bit more difficult to get help in like the Florida area than it could be in Kentucky area and things like that. But there's places out there, even if you have to relocate.
Right. I mean, I know this, when I was out on the streets and selling drugs and doing drugs, if it dried up here, I would go somewhere else. I wasn't isolated to Louisville, Kentucky.
Nope.
If I could get on the road and go get it, I'd get on the road and go get it. And it's unfortunate that it's not universal the way treatment is given. I mean, just across the bridge in Indiana, there's no real true long-term treatment. It's 28-day programs, and you bounce from one to the other. I worked for a very short time in an agency over there, but it's I think the most useful thing that I found in all of recovery, I found some monetary success, but I think the most important thing is that I've identified the enemy, and the enemy is me. I was the only one that was really holding myself back from anything, and that's with anybody. A broken person is not going to be able to create a level of success for themselves because they're broken. They got to get fixed. And that's what I realized in my process, is that I had to be fixed. I had a guy ask me, it's been about 6 months or so ago, he was wanting to start his own business and was asking me questions, and he's an addict just like me, and he said, what do I do first? I said, why don't you work the 12 steps? He didn't like that answer. He thought, but what he doesn't realize, and that I didn't realize for so many years, is that it doesn't matter what you do. If you build it on a shaky foundation, it's going to crumble. You got to fix you and work through, like you were talking about, the trauma and the things that you've experienced in life, and be able to have some courage and face that and work through those. If you don't, you're really spinning your wheels.
Yeah, definitely. As a man who's been through those trials, struggles, and tribulations and things like that, and came out on the brighter side and the brighter note, like you said, working on yourself. What are some of the things that you did, or some of the steps that you actually took to build that strong foundation?
So, being in a halfway house, you have to. The first thing I did is I really just accepted my situation. I was broke. But I had everything that I needed. I didn't have nothing I wanted. I used to get on apps and put shoes in carts. I mean, there was a whole lot of stuff that I wanted. But I had everything that I needed. I had a roof over my head, I had clothes on my back, and I had food in my belly. And once I accepted that, I was able to really lock in and really focus on how to rebuild my life and identify what it needed to be done. And I knew that learning how to stay abstinent from substances and how to stop being in so much conflict with the world and creating these emotions that drove me back to the drink or drug was the first thing that I needed to do. And I worked real diligently at that before I did anything else. And then once I felt stable, I enrolled back into college, getting ready to graduate. I enrolled back into college. I did a lot of webinars and just really just educated myself. I was one of those guys that would be in jails and prisons, and I was a guy that was always reading books. Mm-hmm. And so I took that discipline kind of with me into the free world and just kept after it. I didn't have a job and didn't have a lot of responsibility, so I just looked at being in the halfway house as like a college to learn how to live right. Mm-hmm. And so I took advantage of that and just really went after it and got myself stable mentally, kept myself abstinent from substances, and then built on that.
During that time, you grounded yourself in one place, right?
Yeah.
See, bang, right there. I think that's an important thing also, because it bounced from one place to another, to another, to another. Never really taking that time to sit down and be like, you know what? Let me figure out more about myself. I got a roof over my head. I could get some food. I could manage. Might have to take a class here and there, but when a person could sit down, learn about themselves, grow, get that healing that they need through counselors, therapists, whatever you do, prayer and support, whatever you do, and just learn how to deal with yourself and your issues, and then you move forward. You got to ground yourself. Man, I see so many people who just, they start doing good 1 month, 2 months they're doing good, and then bang, next thing you know, they move. And their whole foundation isn't even built yet, but they move, and now they're in a different environment, different situations, and they're just triggered all the way around. If you ever got triggered during the time of going through the sobriety and building yourself up, what are some things you did to fight against those triggers?
So a lot of things that I did to fight against the triggers I carried with me after I left and after I started building my business. I really grounded myself in the morning in meditation. Mm-hmm. And meditation looks different for everybody, right? Like when I was in the program and they talked about meditation, I'd always have this vision of Buddhist people sitting Indian style with their hands out. Yeah. And really what it looks like for me, and this is just for me, is that I really think about my day when I wake up in the morning. And now my days look a whole lot different than they did back then, right? But I look at what I have to accomplish by the end of the day and how am I going to accomplish that and how am I going to manage my time. And I did the same thing when I was at the lighthouse. And what I did more of is when I was at the lighthouse, what can I be doing to build my life? Now it's more of a maintenance because there's already so much that I have to do by the day's end. There's just not enough time in the day. So at night, after I ground myself in the morning in meditation, I still do some of the readings that we did when we were in meditation, recovery-focused meditation. There, I don't do them all, but I do a few. I pray, I meditate, and then at night, I do the same thing, and I kind of look at my day. And I don't look at my day, I look at it for two reasons. What could I have done better and what did I do wrong? I don't look at the things that I did right because those don't matter. Mm-hmm. I just look at what could I have done better and what did I do wrong? And I try to build, and then the next day, and that's, I heard you say earlier, like guys do good for a month, they do good for a couple months, and then they fall off. That complacency is scary for me because I've been sober before and I've gotten complacent. I've reached levels of success monetarily in business before, and I fell short. And so I realized that as long as I'm at night looking at my day and then planning my next day based on what could I do better, what did I do wrong, my days, I'm constantly growing. So,
You know what? That's a great thing right there, because see, with the growth, development comes with that growth.
yeah.
You know, when it grows, it ends up developing into the thing it's supposed to be. So
Right.
as long as we continue to grow, like you said, that's a great thing you said about you know what, analyzing what you could have did better. You know, not about what you did right, but what you could do better. Continuous self growth, and that's kind of like what I think about it also. Like I was saying at the beginning, you know, I don't believe I'm good. I just try to be better
Right.
each and every day. You know, and during that time, you start building characteristics that is better, and then you end up being a different person than you used to be, because now as you working every single day, you just naturally become a better person.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You know, I could have did this better, because you're trying to fix yourself. You're not trying to stay in the place that you're at. You know, we just continuously trying to grow, and then we develop into what I feel like is who God created us to be. A more loving person, a more understanding person, a more willful person, a more person that's stronger driven and has a lot of ambition in life, you know. And meditation is a great thing to I used to think the same thing, to be like, you know what, meditating is something like Buddha, yoga, you gotta
Yeah.
be stretching and doing all, light some
Yeah.
candles and incense and all type of stuff. I realized, you know what, you don't have to do all that. You know what I'm saying? It's really just you spending time with yourself and focusing on something, you know, that's peaceful and that's gonna give you some understanding out of life.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you said something real important, is spending time with yourself. Like, we'll take time out to spend with a significant other, we'll take time out to spend with our kids, but we never really get to know ourselves. And it really stunts growth. And I've found that in this process, and it's been super beneficial, and it's worked great for me, I think. And let me say this so everyone's clear. I was one of those guys that was like, I'm never going to stop getting high. I'm never going to quit selling dope. Like, I had no inclination to ever quit. I wasn't interested in it, didn't want nothing to do with it. Unless I was being sentenced to do it, like, that's the only time I would go into treatment facilities. Like, once that sentence was over and I satisfied probation, parole, the court system, then I'm done with it. I'm not coming around you guys. So I know, and when I'm in my groups with my guys and I'm around guys that are trying to get sober and I'm asking them to do things, I found that because I learned how to follow direction, it's really easy for me to give direction because I followed direction. So when you're somebody that can follow direction, it makes it a lot lighter push for you to be able to give direction. Because when you're one of these guys that don't follow direction and then you're giving it, you're like, the guy ain't following. Well, I understand why he's not following direction, you know. But when you can accept direction, that's what I did. I just knew that my life under my direction was a failure. I mean, it's like having a business and going bankrupt. You just look at it and you're like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's where I was at. I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to live right.
It's a good thing, the self-growth and accountability that you took, and you realize, you know what, I had a problem, I fixed it, and now I'm moving forward to better myself, and then it took you on a different path. You went through recovery, you're in recovery, you bettered yourself, went to college, and you always been good with your job and everything, but then you got into the recovery field. You mentioned that you had a recovery business that you started. What led you to actually wanting to start a business like that?
So my plan was, I had a tub resurfacing business before I went into this last 5 years in jails. And so when I talked with Shelton, and he was doing case management for me, that was the plan. And then as guys were coming in the house, he had some peer supports and he had some CSAs, he had some different staff members. They just really weren't working with the clients, and I was. And they were getting paid and I wasn't, but I was okay with that because it was keeping me sober and it was allowing me to give back. And he just asked me one day, like, you want to get your peer supports, you want to get your CSA, you want to do these things? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I did them, and it just changed the trajectory of my goals. I started really researching on how to run a treatment facility, large agency, small agency. Really started to educate myself on it. I got into college for human services and really learned the administrative side and the clinical side, and had the opportunity to start a program and collaborated with Sheldon and ended up opening a house. And him and I have been together ever since. And we've had our ups and downs, but we've stayed steadfast. And he's got a saying that I love: chop wood, carry water. If it's good, chop wood, carry water. If it's bad, chop wood, carry water. If it's okay, chop wood, carry water.
So chop wood, carry water. You know what? I like that. Like you said, even when it's good, even when it's bad, you just continue to move forward.
Just continue to work, man.
Continue to work, and it's gonna work itself out.
That's right.
You have to realize, people who's looking at this, main thing is that you got to realize is, don't give up. As long as you're breathing, and that's the way I look at it. As long as you're breathing, moving, you still got a chance.
Yeah.
You got a purpose, and you figured out your purpose, and that's a great thing. And I know that you, the lives of the people that you end up encountering has been changed because of that.
Yeah.
And I know same thing with me. Like, I never knew that my plan was never to be doing this when I was younger. I'm out there, I'm hanging, I'm doing all types of stuff, man. I'm like, you know what, man? I never stop being messed up, tore up from the floor up, man.
Yeah.
I used to like being drunk, like being high. I like to be out there. I used to have fun. At least I felt like it. I mean, times was, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But that was the old me. Now I look at it like, I couldn't imagine back then, trying to do something right now the same way I was back then. I would not survive. And today, there's so many things out there that you could get involved in that you could lose your life like that. I thank God I'm still alive today, because I just think about so many times my life could have been cut short. But I'm still here for a purpose, and I think that's an important thing when you're going through recovery, is you got to find out why you're here. What is your purpose? Why were you created? And then when you get that, you get a sense of self-worth, I think, you know what I'm saying? Because when you're out there, a lot of times I realized my mental side, I didn't really care about myself.
But life is going to happen, and if you build those coping skills, I had a situation where my wife, I don't think I haven't talked about that yet, but my wife, I met her after being split up from a girl, was sleeping in my office, and it ended up, my life took a different turn and went that way, and now my life's beautiful. So I think really just not being so selfish and not trying to just, really try to control situations and really getting to know yourself and always working against yourself. I realized that the world isn't the enemy, it's me that's the enemy. I'm the only one that's going to allow myself to be manipulated, allow myself to be triggered. Because really a trigger and a relapse is really just a reservation that I'm going to do it, and I'm just looking for an excuse. And really understanding that really gave me a different perspective on things. Like, I walk out here and a guy is using on a street corner every day, and it's not a trigger. It's if I allow it, it's just me trying to justify why I used again.
You know what? That's a great thing, man. Because I was literally talking to somebody about that. I said, you know what, man? If it go out and it's sunny day outside, beautiful day, it could be a trigger for somebody. Because you know what, man? I used to like to go get day drunk, hang out, have good times during the good times when it's sunny outside. It's a beautiful day. Let's go out and get tore up. You know what I'm saying? But if you put that in your mind that, it's a beautiful day today, I feel like using, so I'm gonna use this excuse that it's a beautiful day outside, that it's a trigger that I'm about to go get lit because it's nice outside today.
Or it's a rainy day.
Or a rainy day,
Or it's just an okay day. You can justify it. Any way you can. I watched a guy the other day that talked about that beliefs are really a fallacy. You create a situation happens, and then your mind creates the belief to justify why you did something. And so,
that's good.
So it's kind of the same thing with triggers. Like, I realized that you're not going to dismiss people in the world doing things. You're not going to be, abstinent from pain and suffering. It's going to happen. Like, it's inevitable. It's what you do with it. And I think being able to learn how to work through it, man, has really built a good base for me to be able to continue to grow and deal with those things in life, just in general.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And getting into the recovery business, do you feel like you have to have that heart for the people?
I think so. I always debate in my mind people that go to college and they have master's degrees and they read about people like me that's been incarcerated. I've been in prison 5 times. I've been in and out of jails my entire life. And they read about people like me, and there's definitely a need for them, but I don't think anything touches the hearts of people that are in active addiction more so than people that have dealt with the same situations or similar with the people that they're trying to help. And so I think the lived experience, I'm a huge advocate for it. Yeah. Lived experience is just, it's the greatest teacher. Yeah. You know, so, because you really have empathy and understanding of those people when they're going through those things,
So it's more of an understanding aspect, like, listen, you know what, man, I understand where you're coming from. And the person could tell that more than the person probably didn't. And I kind of use that with like when I do ministry stuff and also go out there, I'd be like, you know what, man, I could reach people probably that you can't reach. Yeah. You know, and, you know, you could reach people that I can't reach. But if we work together, we could reach a whole lot of people. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's a great thing right there. What are some of your plans that you have for the future? Since you've accomplished a lot already in your life, and I know, you know, you're still touching people's lives and you being a person in recovery and helping a lot more people, what are some of the things you have planned to be able to help more people?
I think first, as far as plans, continuing to grow with my wife as a husband. This is the first time I've ever been married, so I always put my family, I put God and my family first. And so I think,
congratulations on that. Too.
Yeah, thank you. And I think just being able to expand my reach to help people and continue lobby in Frankfurt, continue and lobby for reform because our system's set up to stigmatize mental health and substance use with felonies, and it creates more barriers and more obstacles for people to navigate who already are struggling and can't really find their way or find any purpose or find any type of employment, housing. And so continuing to share my story with lawmakers and really build on my lived experience, trying to provoke some change in the way policy is set and how we handle mental health and substance use. And the punitive approach really just doesn't work. You know, first time I went to prison, I was scared, but then after that, it was just normal. Like, this is it, shit, this is easy. So that scare factor really isn't, it's really not relevant. And there needs to be, you know, a space for growth inside of our carceral system. And that's just not there. I mean, they have programs, but you can't get into them. They've got fly-by-night facilitators. You know, and the guards there, they're taught a punitive approach. They're not taught the therapeutic side or how to help somebody. So I think that, you know, my business partner, Shelton, he went over to Norway and the Norwegian prison system, and it's completely different. And I've watched videos on it, and he shared with me how they do it. And the recidivism rate's really low because of it. But we create that environment for people to rescind back into prison because there's no life skills, there's nothing. They remove you from society. And then you've got substance use, you got mental health. It never really gets treated inside of the penal system. And then they go back out into society, and not only do they have all the problems that they had when they went in, but they got even more that's piled up while they were in. And they just don't know which route to go. So it's just a broken system, and my voice at least is being heard now. So
yeah, that's an important thing inside of the system, because I feel the same way. Like, you know, prison reform and construct, you know, they gotta have a stronger basis on helping people. And I've seen documentaries and stuff of other systems and prison systems in other countries, and realize, you know what, they're human beings. Everybody's not bad, you know, who go in there and do these things. You might have done some bad things. Don't get me wrong. Like we said before, some people do deserve to be in prison, but there's people in there who did some things, bad things, but they're good people. If they get the mental side worked out, if they was able to see therapists, if they was able to get help, learn certain basic social skills, learn how to deal with the trauma that they have, learn how to cope better when certain tensions happen instead of just rashing out, especially in the prison environment where people get stabbed, shanked, beats and fights and all the time is going on inside of there, and then you release this person without even being able to show them how to deal with this anger. Now they're getting out, they're shooting people, they're doing this, they're doing that because they just came from a jungle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But this is the jungle that they're used to, you know, because then I got used to it over time. But you know, okay, how do I deal with this situation? I rash out. How do I deal with this if I can't get a job? I automatically got to do this. So, you know, working with second opportunity people, and that's an important thing. People should have a real second chance. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, man, you got a felony on your thing and you just stuck forever. They say the 7-year thing or whatever. No, but look back at just, it's a life sentence. They still look back 7, 10, 15. They can go back 20 years and pull up an article that happened 20 years ago, and then they look like, you know what, we're looking at this from 20 years ago just because we Googled your name, an article popped up, now you're screwed.
Right.
You know, it's like, how do you expect the person to really get out from that and to be able to be a successful part of society when you're not dealing with the mental part, you're not dealing with the job part, you're not dealing with, and you got people out here who's really trying.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I was at a conference in Washington, D.C. that had second chance employers, and statistically, somebody that they've given a second chance to in employment actually is a higher producer than somebody that just came off the streets without the felony. And there's a lot of research behind it. And the thing about it is that, you know, when you're put back out into society and you've never lived responsibly, you're talking to a guy that's been to prison 5 times. Like, all I knew was how to sell drugs. I'd had some businesses, but, you know, I always leaned on selling drugs in the streets. I've committed almost every crime you can imagine. And once I was given the therapeutic chance and somebody that could really reach me, I'm not that human being today. I'm not that criminal that was inside those walls. So, and it was because of the chance and the opportunity that I was given is what changed my life. So the things that I did didn't define who I was. They were driven by other, you know, contributing factors. My mental health was poor. I was addicted to mind and mood altering substances. I chased them, and I was going to do anything to get them. And so it provided a space where I committed crimes and I did things that I'm not proud of, but I used those things that I did. They're really not a liability. They're really an asset today because I can help people navigate the world when they've done some things similar to what I did and realize they're not a bad person. So.
Yeah, that's a good thing. People, I just want y'all to hear, and people who might be government officials or whatever, you can share it with them. We're human beings, you know. Everybody's not just bad people running around, but people make bad decisions at times. People fall sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And they did these things in their life, but the way they are in the past doesn't dictate their future. People could change. Perfect examples right here in front of you right now. And many people you've seen on the show who became productive parts of society, and plenty of people around the world who you've seen who was one way before and another way now. We got to get to the stem of the issue, you know what I'm saying? We got to get to the root of the problem. That's an internal problem, a spiritual problem, a mental problem. And once we do get the help, that opens up the doors that allows people to get help, and instead of the government closing doors, which it seems to happen a lot, to try to actually help reform the people, you know, to actually help people instead of just throw them in and be like, we're going to book them, lock them away forever, and just keep them behind like some animals. No, realize they're humans, give them a chance to actually get out there and do right, man, and to change their life, man, because a lot of people, like you said a great thing. If they deal with that mental aspect and that spiritual aspect on the inside and what's going on, that root of the problem, a lot of times they're a completely different person once they go through that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just giving them the opportunity and the chance. And sometimes it may be a second, third, or fourth, or fifth chance. If it weren't for those, I wouldn't be, you'd have somebody else. You'd be interviewing somebody else. So, I mean, you never give up on people. And that's just my motto. I just don't give up on people. They've already given up on themselves. So just not giving up on people and trying to be a beacon of hope and help them navigate what the circumstances they're in is important. And our carceral system just doesn't do that. The criminal legal system it's the opposite. So that's right.
We want to see some real help. We want to see some real change, and maybe we could do it together. Yeah. Is there any last words you'd like to say to the people?
I think the most important thing, this being 12 and 12, most of the audience that's going to be watching this, some could be in a hopeless state and wondering where they're going. I think what I've found most is, man, get yourself some help and ask for it. Don't try to hide anything. And really just sit down and close your mouth and listen, man, to some people that know how to live a little bit better than you. You know, at the end of the day, there is a bigger and higher potential side of you just haven't found. You just got to work through the trauma that you're dealing with, and you can find that. I did, you know. So I think really just humbling yourself and really taking some direction and really asking for some help and getting some courage to do it is the most important thing that I did in this process. So.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
Yeah.
you coming on, George.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And it's been a blessing having y'all here tuning in today. Blessing having George on here, man. It's a blessing speaking with y'all. And remember, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, you already reached this far at the end of the video. Hey, don't forget to tap that subscribe button and share. Sharing is caring. We love you all. Stay strong, and let's continue to fight this disease together. Have a blessed day.